Stay informed about the latest developments in cryptocurrency, politics, technology, and beyond with NewsSource Scrawlers edition covering the period from August 18, 2025, to August 25, 2025. New York Times comments as, in the artificial intelligence competition, Chinese expertise continues to fuel American scientific exploration. Trump is considering an executive order to prevent state-level artificial intelligence regulations. Google's CEO remarks that the trillion-dollar surge in artificial intelligence investment contains aspects of irrationality.
China's transition from diesel trucks to electric vehicles may impact global demand for LNG and diesel. In the United States, a record quarter for clean tech investments is driven by electric car sales. Amazon Zoox has launched a robotaxi in certain areas of San Francisco, offering free rides.
Tokyo court holds Cloudflare accountable for manga piracy in extended legal battle. In the United States, new impositions aim at Russian web hosting provider due to alleged involvement in ransomware activities. Mexico partially eases a prolonged prohibition on websites accessible through the Tor network.
The Intercept notes War in Venezuela, brought to you by the same people who lied us into Iraq. Trump authorizes CIA plans for covert action in Venezuela, and Trump considers Venezuela talks as U.S. designates Maduro a terrorist. Trump indicates he would be okay with launching strikes in Mexico to combat drug smuggling. The U.S. military conducted its 21st strike on a suspected drug boat, resulting in the deaths of 3 individuals.
GM is urging parts manufacturers to relocate their supply chains away from China. Germany plans to prohibit Huawei from participating in its upcoming 6G network as part of an effort to enhance national sovereignty. The Netherlands has decided to relinquish control of Nexperia back to its Chinese owner, with the Dutch government withdrawing from its intervention to engage in discussions with China.
Singapore plans to test tokenized bills and introduce stablecoin regulations, according to the central bank chief. Michael Burry, the investor known for The Big Short, will shut down his hedge fund, citing concerns over market valuations. An HSBC survey reveals that companies in Hong Kong are choosing Saudi Arabia instead of mainland China for their expansion efforts.
UN Security Council endorses Trump's 20-point peace initiative for Gaza. CARE considers legal action after Texas governor labels it a foreign terrorist organization, following Governor Abbott's designation of the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE as foreign terrorist organizations. Iran's foreign minister announces the cessation of uranium enrichment at all national sites.
Man saves AI-created robot porn on government computer, forfeits access to nuclear information. Microsoft reports Azure suffered a huge DDoS attack originating from more than 500,000 IP addresses. Kremlin states Vladimir Putin does not personally use AI, though officials in his administration do.
Russia unveils its inaugural autonomous humanoid robot, which experiences instability and collapses during its initial presentation. The planet's premier facility for manufacturing flying cars commences trial operations in the southern region of China. Pope Leo XIV urges immediate measures to address climate change, asserting that God's creation is crying out.
China accuses the U.S. of attempting to weaken its relationship with Greece following remarks made by a U.S. envoy at the Piraeus port. Previously, a Trump-era envoy had cautioned Greece about the U.S.'s desire to exclude China from the Piraeus port, while Greece asserted that the port is not for sale to China. Meanwhile, China is quickly expanding its nuclear test site as Trump reignites Cold War tensions. Additionally, China instructs Japan to act appropriately after rejecting a request for discussions, despite both countries engaging in talks to ease tensions arising from PM Takaichi's comments on Taiwan.
China's clinical trial capabilities are now comparable to those of the United States, drawing increased interest from global pharmaceutical companies and investors. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announces that new dietary guidelines will be introduced shortly, stating, "We are concluding the conflict against saturated fats." In 2024, England experienced a 17% increase in fatalities associated with antibiotic-resistant superbugs.
U.S. and Russian officials have developed a new peace proposal for Ukraine. The Hill notes that Trump's 28-point peace plan has surprised Congress, as it requires Ukraine to surrender more territory in exchange for a security guarantee. Sources indicate that U.S. proposals to conclude Russia's war also involve Ukraine relinquishing some land and weapons. Hungary's Orbán states that Ukraine has no chance of winning the war. Meanwhile, Finland's president advises Europe to remain steadfast, cautioning that a ceasefire is unlikely in the near future in Ukraine. European nations are resisting the U.S. plan that would compel Ukraine to make concessions, and EU countries are insisting on having a role in the U.S.-Russia plan to end the war in Ukraine. Trump defends the Saudi crown prince and minimizes the Khashoggi murder by saying, "Things happen." He also promises U.S. assistance in resolving the Sudan war, following a request from the Saudi crown prince. Additionally, Trump announces that the U.S. plans to sell F-35 jet fighters to Saudi Arabia. In the U.S., young Republicans and men are increasingly opposed to gun control due to fears of mass shootings. In the U.S., the Department of Homeland Security intends to send federal agents to New Orleans for an immigration enforcement operation called Swamp Sweep, while Pope Leo criticizes the extremely disrespectful treatment of immigrants in the U.S. In the UK, the Home Office minister suggests that asylum seekers' jewelry might be confiscated to cover processing expenses. A Chinese woman who falsely claimed a different nationality to become a mayor in the Philippines has been imprisoned for human trafficking. In the United States, Meta triumphs in a significant antitrust lawsuit concerning its acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp, with a judge determining that Meta does not possess a monopoly in the social media sector. Facebook and Instagram are set to begin removing Australian teenagers from their platforms due to an impending social media ban. Spain plans to probe Meta for suspected privacy violations on Android devices. The European Union relaxes regulations on artificial intelligence and privacy, prompting concerns from critics that it is yielding to major technology companies.
Trump pledges $2,000 tariff checks by mid-2026 and eliminates tariffs on numerous food items, including beef and bananas. The U.S. Department of Education reveals 6 new agency partnerships aimed at dismantling federal bureaucracy. The MAGA movement uses protests against Claudia Sheinbaum to advocate for U.S. military intervention in Mexico, despite Sheinbaum previously dismissing such intervention following Trump's remarks.
Gustav Klimt's portrait, which protected its subject from the Nazis, sets a new modern art record with a $236 million sale. Netflix secures a 3-year agreement to broadcast MLB live events and games. The UK plans to prohibit ticket resale for profit to safeguard fans.
Ukraine finalizes an agreement to acquire 100 Rafale fighter jets manufactured in France. Italy's highest court approves the extradition of a Ukrainian individual suspected of being involved in the Nord Stream sabotage. The ministers of justice and energy in Ukraine stepped down due to an ongoing corruption investigation.
Trump demands the revocation of ABC's broadcast licenses following a reporter's inquiry, as he reacts sharply to a female journalist's question about the Epstein files, referring to her as "Quiet Piggy." Trump enacts the Epstein bill into law, leading to the release of files from the Department of Justice, while Larry Summers takes a leave of absence from Harvard amid an investigation into his connections with Jeffrey Epstein, as Harvard initiates a new probe into Epstein's connections with Summers and other university members. Allegedly, Jeffrey Epstein sought to engage the Swiss Rothschild Bank to fund an Israeli cyber weapons enterprise.